The most important statement made today, and perhaps when we look back historically, this will be a day that people remember, August 21st. Michael Cohen said he paid those people and violated those Federal Election Commission laws at the direction and for the benefit of a candidate running for federal office, without saying that person's name. We know that person. It is Donald J. Trump. There's no doubt about it. That is called a criminal conspiracy. We'll break it all down, of course, but give me a top line first. That's a criminal conspiracy. You have two people agreeing to violate a law. It's that simple. And they took an action to do it. Criminal conspiracy. Took steps towards the criminal objective, and that was violating Federal Election Commission laws. Let's just sum up where we are right now in the world of Trump for his best people. Michael Cohen, guilty. Michael Flynn, guilty. Deputy Campaign Manager Rick Gates, guilty. Foreign Policy Advisor George Papadopoulos, guilty. Campaign Manager Paul Manafort, guilty. Just waiting for, it's all around this one guy. Why would he surround himself with all these criminals? Why would Donald Trump want to be surrounded with people who are criminals? It's simple. Donald Trump likes this. He can relate to them. He is a crime boss. Any person who would call John Dean, a cooperating witness, a rat, which Donald Trump did over the weekend, tells you what he views people who work with the government against corrupt politicians. He doesn't view them as patriots who've helped his government. He views them as rats. If you were reading about the United States of America today, but no, let's put it this way. Say you're in the United States of America and you're reading an article about some other nation. And right now in that nation, you have a leader who's trying to destroy the free press, who's trying to silence critics, whose top aides are criminals, and he's personally profiting off being president. You would say that is a corrupt third world banana republic, wouldn't you? Be objective. Even Trumpers, you're listening. I know you're listening. Would you not say that is a third world corrupt banana republic? Of course you would, but it's not. We know what that is. It's the United States of America under Donald J. Trump. We have the most corrupt regime in campaign in the history, at least in the modern day history of the United States of America. I can only speak to modern day. This is far worse than Nixon right now because there's more going on. We're going to find out more. There have been no hearings by the GOP Congress into anything going on. They held countless hearings over years for Benghazi. And again, that brings us to what we must do to vote them out. That is the key. That is the only way of remedying this situation. So there's so much to unpack, and I want to hear from you as well. First of all, let's remind people of how close Michael Cohen and Donald Trump is. They were, let's put it that way. I'm not sure where they stand right now. I have an idea, and not in a good way, because Donald Trump just commented a few minutes ago live. He's in West Virginia at a rally, and he commented that only about Manafort. Oh, it's supposed about where's Russia collusion and all that stuff. Paul Manafort is a man just convicted of 8 felonies, tax evasion, bank fraud. Donald Trump, to him, it's sad. It's sad to Donald Trump that Paul Manafort is being brought to justice. He did not mention Michael Cohen at all. So here's how close Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. Here's Michael Cohen cut together saying what he does for the one, the only Donald Trump. Clip 3, please.
I'll do anything to protect Mr. Trump. They say Mr. Trump's pit bull.
I've stood by him shoulder to shoulder.
If there's an issue that relates to Mr. Trump that is of concern to him, it's of course concern to me. And I will use my legal skills within which to protect Mr. Trump to the best of my ability.
The words the media should be using to describe Mr. Trump are generous, compassionate, principled.
There you go. And of course, Donald Trump has praised Michael Cohen. In fact, in April, he praised Michael Cohen on Twitter. In fact, here's a news story about that. You can listen to the newscaster actually reading Donald Trump's tweet. This is just April. This is not years ago. This is April. Here's clip number 4.
Tonight, President Trump fiercely defending his personal attorney and fixer, Michael Cohen, attacking a story claiming Cohen may turn on him. Tweeting, "The New York Times and a third-rate reporter are going out of their way to destroy Michael Cohen and his relationship with me in the hope that he will flip." The president continued, "Sorry, I don't see Michael doing that despite the horrible witch hunt and the dishonest media."
And in May, Rudy Giuliani was on TV saying Michael Cohen was honest, and I think he's going to tell the truth, and they have all the confidence. Within a few months later, when Michael Cohen reveals a tape of a conversation with Donald Trump, where on that, Donald Trump was talking about paying off Karen McDougal, actually paying the National Enquirer to pay off Karen McDougal. And again, there are a lot of women I know, but Karen McDougal was the former Playboy playmate who had a long-term relationship with Donald Trump, who said she was in love with Donald Trump. And through the National Enquirer, it was a catch and kill. They bought her story so she would be silent about it. And then there's Stormy Daniels, where they only had sex one time and had a short relationship, and she was paid $130,000. That was different. So there's a lot of things to look at right now. I've heard that Michael Cohen might get 4 years. Other former federal prosecutors were saying from what he's pleading guilty to, he should really be getting more 10 to 12 years. And what they're getting at is that while there's not an explicit cooperation agreement between Michael Cohen and the government, at least not one revealed in court today, there must be something going on for him to be getting an offer of a much, much lower time in jail. In fact, Danny Savalas, our good friend who's going to come on the third hour a little bit, and he's actually outside of the courthouse reporting live for MSNBC, so we're going to grab him for a little bit in the third hour, just on TV saying, making it clear that you can be a cooperating witness with the government even after you're pled guilty and after you're sentenced, and then they can deal with your prison sentence. Here's the reality, folks. What Michael Cohen said today, that he violated Federal Election Commission laws at the direction and for the benefit of Donald Trump, and he didn't say Donald Trump, but he said a federal candidate, we know who it is, implicates Donald Trump. It brings everything in. And here's the other part of all of this. And take a step back for a second. That means Michael Cohen has admitted today that he and Donald Trump and the Trump campaign won, and I put that in air quotes, by cheating. They cheated. The entire election is tainted. We knew that before, but now we have evidence of election fraud. And in an election which was won by three key states, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, by 77,744 votes last time they were counting, any kind of fraud could have an impact and made a difference in this. And there's absolutely no doubt right now, Michael Cohen has pled guilty. There's no dispute that they committed election fraud. Keep that in mind. Can we prove Donald Trump's involved in this? We can get into that in a second. But it's undisputed the Trump campaign committed election fraud to win the campaign. No doubt about it. Now, the amount of impact on how many votes, I can't quantify that. I'm not going to play games with you. I don't know. None of us know that. But here's what we get the idea of criminal conspiracy. Because what Michael Cohen said to me, and I yelled at the TV, criminal conspiracy. And then Preet Bharara was on CNN, and he was on right then. A minute later, former U.S. attorney here in New York, and said, if it's true what Michael Cohen said, that is the elements of a criminal conspiracy. Simply, a criminal conspiracy exists when two or more people agree to commit almost any unlawful act and take some action to complete that act. The action does not have to be a crime itself. You could say, your friend says, I'm going to rob a bank. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to help you. I'm going to drive around and case the place and tell you when everybody leaves. Well, you're part of a criminal conspiracy. So if someone directs you to do something to violate a crime, which, don't forget, Michael Cohen said under oath today. He said, and make that very clear, his statement, the elocution it's called, when he's saying in open court, I am guilty of the crime, here are the elements, here's what I did, that is under oath. So he has testified today under oath that the President of the United States of America, while a candidate in October and September, told him to violate Federal Election Commission laws, to make these loans, make the payments to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. That's where we are. And Trump lied about it. There was a cover-up, of course. In April, Donald Trump, you might recall him being on a plane. I was going to play it here, but it's so hard to hear the words. You got to read the words, saying, I know nothing about the money. I don't know. Ask Michael. Literally said, ask Michael about it. Then you get to May, Rudy Giuliani starts his whole TV ridiculousness saying, well, the president knew about the payment and they did it to save his marriage, not to help the campaign. So there you have Rudy Giuliani trying to play games going, because if the money was not, and I don't know how it works on the federal election laws, and I think this is pretty straightforward, but I'll just lay it out. A contribution is defined as anything that's a gift, a loan, an advance, anything of value to help a campaign. So there's no dispute now that Michael Cohen has pled guilty that the money was given to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal to the newspaper to help the campaign. That's Michael Cohen's reality. That's the world. He pled guilty to it. You might have to still prove that against Donald Trump. So here's where we stand right now. Did Donald Trump direct Michael Cohen, as he said, to violate Federal Election Commission laws. And if he did, that is criminal conspiracy. It's pretty simple. Absolutely clear. Now, what's the right thing to do? Congress now should have hearings. If President Obama, think about it. I don't want to get like, if you go to Fox News now, they're all about, Fox News is literally not even covering this story right now. We're 15 minutes into the hour, and they're covering a Confederate statue being taken down at UNC just to outrage the white supremacists who watch the channel. And I'm sure they're talking about Hillary's emails over there. There's no doubt, and we've talked about this before, and I said that I believe Donald Trump should be charged with conspiracy to violate Federal Election Commission laws. I also believe he should be charged with obstructing justice. I also believe he should be charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States of America because of the Russian Trump Tower meeting. That's what I believe as a lawyer. I believe the elements are there. Can you charge a sitting president? We've discussed this before. DOJ regulations say no, but they also, in those regulations, talk about a situation where there's exceptional circumstances. You can seek essentially an exception to that rule. And that's going to be up to Rod Rosenstein, not Jeff Sessions, because he's recused himself. Right now, though, impeachment. We should have impeachment hearings. And for those who are wondering, can you impeach a president for a crime he committed pre-president? And that's a really good question, because there's only been two presidents impeached. There's been Bill Clinton and Andrew Johnson. And both of them were for acts they did as president. Bill Clinton lying under oath, had nothing to do with his work as president, but lying under oath in the investigation of his having, I'm sure, a relationship with Monica Lewinsky and with Paula Jones' lawsuit against him for what he had for sexual harassment. So that's where it stood. And then Andrew Johnson violating federal statute for when he got rid of his Secretary of War. We used to have a Secretary of War. So the question is, can you, though, impeach a president for something they've done prior to being in the office and being sworn in? So I looked up today federal judges, because there's been 8 federal judges who have been impeached and removed from office. And impeachment is just indictment in the House. Then you go to the Senate and 2/3 of the Senate votes. And you have 2/3 vote for rejection, you're gone. You're out of there. 8 judges have been removed. Well, one of the 8, the last one in 2010, actually one of the articles of impeachment were for actions he did before he was a federal judge, for crimes he committed as a state judge. So, and that was one of the articles of impeachment. And the argument against it by his lawyer was Jonathan Turley, who was just on Fox News, who's a sort of a center-right lawyer and professor, said, hey, in the history of this republic, no one has ever been removed from office on the basis of pre-federal conduct. That's what Jonathan Turley argued to the House and the Senate. They rejected it. They indicted, I keep saying indict. Impeach is indict. That's all it is. I wish we just use the word indict, because impeachment is nothing but charging a president or a judge, and it goes the trials in the Senate. So they reject that argument. So in reality, it is something Donald Trump did before being president, be it this Federal Election Commission law, if it's tax evasion, any crime, arguably because of this one case, would be allowed to be heard and should be heard, because it's going to be very challenging to indict a sitting president. If Donald Trump was not a sitting president, and we heard what we did for Michael Cohen today, Donald Trump would be indicted. I think there's zero doubt about that. In fact, they would have indicted him before Michael Cohen pled guilty. They would have worked it out. So that's where we stand right now. We stand right now in the United States of America, where we're going to have 0 Republicans speaking out so far. And unless we get out and vote, nothing's going to change. We're going to have a president who's a criminal in the White House. And they won't even have hearings to consider impeachment. Tom Steyer already put a statement going, I've been talking about impeachment since last year. People told me stop talking about it. I'm telling you. And should Donald Trump be impeached? Absolutely. Donald Trump, there should be a hearing into the impeachment. He should be charged, and there should be a trial in the Senate. Can you get 2/3 of the Senate to remove the first president of the United States to ever be removed? That is a heavy lift. I have to be honest. That is a challenge simply because of the history involved. But I think if there's enough evidence there, you can do that. And Robert Mueller's investigation, there's no doubt Donald Trump will not sit with Robert Mueller now. And I went back and looked with Ken Starr and Bill Clinton. After Bill Clinton testified, within a month, Ken Starr came back with his report, which had all the articles of impeachment. So that tends to be the last thing, and that's the same timeline they're using. So with Donald Trump not going to testify, you might see a Mueller report in the near term. We might see it before the midterm. We might not see it till next year. I can't tell you for sure, but I'm saying if you look at the pattern of the Ken Starr investigation, Bill Clinton was just about the last thing they did. And a month later, the entire report came out recommending articles of impeachment. I would have to think that Robert Mueller, who's an excellent attorney and has a great staff, will recommend impeachment, which is just indictment, against Donald Trump for conspiracy to violate Federal Election Commission laws. Based on what Michael Cohen said today, you have objective evidence. I would say obstruction of justice with firing James Comey and tell him to lay off Michael Flynn. And I think the conspiracy to defraud the United States of America, and that has to do with the meeting at Trump Tower, which there's no doubt in my mind Donald Trump knew about that meeting that his son was having and told him to meet with him, even though the email literally said, which I read yesterday again, this is all part of Russia and its government's campaign to help your father win. They're accepting help from a Russian government. And Donald Trump saying in July, that next month, after that meeting took place and after he knew Russia wanted to help him, saying, Russia, if you're listening, you'll be mightily rewarded if you find Hillary's emails. And that very night, and this is not me guessing, this is in the Mueller indictment, that very night, Russian government hackers did for the first time go after Hillary Clinton's personal emails. There was a criminal conspiracy there. That is assuming you can prove that one piece of evidence that Donald Trump knew about the meeting in Trump Tower before he made that statement in July. And there's no doubt, common sense, of course he did. So this is where we stand. So where do you think we're going? What would you like Congress to do? What do you want Democrats to do? Are you surprised what Michael Cohen said today at all? I know everything is unwinding and news is still breaking. I think we know where we are. Manafort, 8 federal convictions, going to go to jail for life, and he has one more trial coming up. But that does not implicate Donald Trump in any way, except for the fact that he hired Paul Manafort and had him at his campaign, running his campaign, and he sold Paul Manafort a condo in Trump Tower in 2006 for over $3 million in cash. So he's known Manafort way before 2006, but he knew him 2006 when he sold him a condo. And media reports here in New York is that he used to see Manafort in Trump Tower and they would shoot the crap together. And don't forget, Paul Manafort worked with Roger Stone and his lobbying firm, which represented Donald Trump in the 1990s. So Donald Trump's known Manafort for a long time, but there's no link of Paul Manafort and Donald Trump as of now, and they may never be in dealing with criminal actions. Michael Cohen today directly implicated the President of the United States. This is something like I always wondered what it would be like to watch Watergate unravel as an adult. I was like a kid, so I don't remember what was going on. But now I feel like we are watching what it must have felt like when Watergate unraveled in front of everyone's eyes. And they watched over 40 people be indicted and go to jail for Watergate. That's how high up it went. And this is where we stand right now. We have a president who is close confidant, a man who said he would take a bullet for him, has testified today. He was directed and for the benefit of that Donald J. Trump, without saying his name, but a federal candidate, he violated Federal Election Commission laws. You cannot have more clear cut of a criminal conspiracy. Now, Donald Trump could go, nope, I didn't say that. Michael Cohen is lying. And you have to just prove it. And it comes down to proof. Does anyone believe for a second that Michael Cohen is going to take a loan, which he did against his house for $130,000 to pay off Stormy Daniels? No, because it was not at the direction of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump knew about it because Rudy Giuliani said in May, he came out and said, yeah, he knew about it and they paid off Stormy Daniels because they want to ruin his marriage. That's where we stand. Now, people on the right are going to say a million things. Jeffrey Lord immediately on Twitter, who monitors my Twitter feed, said, oh, well, there's nothing about Russian collusion here. First of all, the Manafort trial had nothing to do with Russian collusion. That's what Trump said too. That's their talking point. And not to talk about Michael Cohen. That's their other talking point because you can't defend it. It's indefensible. You can say Michael Cohen's a liar. That's the only defense you have right now. But it flies in the face of common sense. Michael Cohen was not paying people out of his own pocket to help himself. He was doing it to help Donald Trump, at the benefit of Donald Trump, at the direction of Donald Trump, a man he's represented for years, who's paid hush money to women. This is their normal MO. But this time, it was in the closing days of a campaign. So hence, it was a federal election campaign contribution and had to be reported. And it was not. And why was it not reported? Because it was willfully and knowingly not reported, and that's what makes it a crime. So let's take a break. I want to hear from you. There's so much to unpack. 866-997-4748. 866-997-4748. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you about this, about where you think this is going. What do you want to see next? Do you think there's any Republican that will say anything at all? And if not, how can Democrats effectively make this an argument to get people out who are upset with corruption. So take a break, come back. Love to hear from you.
Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM Progress 127.